Hi, good evening everybody. My name is Maryke. I'm the physiotherapist from sportsinjuryphysio.com, where you can get online physiotherapy consultations. And I'm joined tonight by Timmo, who's from Change Hove, Change Personal Training in Hove. And we're going to discuss all about pelvic stability and hip stability for runners and walkers and how that is important for injury prevention. And then Timmo will also show you some of his favorite exercises to get the glutes and everything activated that actually helps with your pelvic stability. So what is pelvic stability or hip stability, and why is it important for runners? Now, I think the easiest way is to actually demonstrate that. Now, let me see if I can change this without breaking the place down. There we go. So when we run, you essentially, or walk, there's a period of time that you essentially supported on one leg. Now, standing on one leg, if you just balance on one leg to start with, you can see that my pelvis is remaining nice and neutral. If you see that happening, that's already a sign that your glutes on this side isn't working properly. Okay, so that is the first thing that we mean with pelvic stability. Then, as you run, we want your knee to move in a straight line with the middle of your foot so that it doesn't really turn in excessively. Okay, so if I can show you that from the side, if I do that single squat again, if I'm going down, you can see how I'm bending as if I'm running or walking. Okay, now you can easily test this for yourself. So all you do is look at yourself in the mirror, balance on one leg, and then do a single leg squat. Now, if you get to this position and your knee has turned in, or your pelvis has dropped, or a combination of the two has happened, then you know that there's something to do with these muscles that's not strong enough to control you there. Something else you can see is that you're all over the show balance-wise. That means that your position sense or your proprioception isn't good. And I'll be discussing that with you next week and telling you more how you can look after that or build that up. So why is it important? Now, if the pelvis moves excessively with every step you give, and it's not just in that plane that it can move excessively, it can also move excessively in this plane. Can you see that when it drops, it's going to affect your lower back because it's essentially side flexing you. So that can lead to lower back injuries. Also in this position, we're squashing the hip on the inside. So you can get tendinopathies, you can get impingement of the hip, groin strains. Then we go on, if the knee turns in while you're running, you can strain your ligament on the inside, you can strain your cruciate ligament, you can get patellofemoral or runner's knee pain, and you'll see what my foot is doing. As soon as my knee goes in, the foot collapses and you can strain all the tendons that comes around this bit. So good pelvic stability is extremely important for runners and walkers. Now, the muscles that's in charge of that are your gluteal muscles, and everybody or most people have heard that the glute med is really important, which is part of the glutes that's just on the side there. But actually your glute max, the big bulk that makes up your buttock, is just as important because it attaches into your iliotibial band, and by pulling tight on the band helps to stabilize your pelvis on your leg. So the main muscles to strengthen for good pelvic stability is your glute med and glute max. And Timmo will show you guys some exercises for that now.
Cool. So the first exercise we're going to do is squat. It's quite a basic exercise, one which most of you have done. So there's a few main principles. Mainly, we're going to be focusing on where your knees are in relation to your feet. So when we bend the knees, we're going to try and keep them directly in line with your heels. Okay. So the weight is going to stay through my heels, and that's going to engage my glutes properly. So that's going to be mainly the glute maximus, which is extending my hip. Now I'm just going to square up. So a lot of people will squat and their knees will start to fall together. So again, that tells us that the medial glutes aren't quite engaged properly, and also you could have quite tight adductors in there as well. So what we want to do is bend at the knees and the hips, keep that weight through your heels, squeeze your glutes really hard, and drive through the floor and push your knees a little bit out to the side as well. So making sure that they don't go out too far. We want to keep them nice and aligned. Okay, so if you're struggling with keeping your knees in line and you feel like they're collapsing inwards, or you can see they're collapsing inwards, give your inner thighs a bit of a stretch, and you can also engage your medial glutes as well. So I'll show you another great exercise to help with that engagement, and we're going to use a mini band. So this is becoming much more common in gyms these days. So we're going to pop it around your knees, and what this will do is provide tension against my knees. Okay, so I'm using my glutes to push out against it. I'm not going to be pushing out past, I'm just holding this position in an isometric contraction, so I'm not moving anywhere. Okay, this is going to help with stability. So, shoulder blades on the bench, dig your heels into the ground, keep your neck nice and aligned and core engaged. We're going to drop your hips down towards the ground, squeeze your bum muscles, and drive all the way out. And then gently back down. So if you're strong, you can add a little bit of weight to that. You can put a barbell across your lap. But the main things to remember with this exercise is we don't want to arch the lower back. We want to keep your core nice and engaged. We don't want the knees to collapse inwards. It's one of the main reasons we're using it with the band. So it reminds you to push against it and gives you a little bit of extra tension. And the last one, we don't want to extend past horizontal. Okay, so if you're pushing your hips up so that you look like a little mound, and then you're going a little bit too far. So the lower back is going to take a bit of tension there. So we want to keep it in the glutes. So the very last exercise I'm going to show you is prone extension with an abduction. So we're going to do that on the bench here. So again, our hip is in flexion here, and by extending the hip, we're engaging the glute maximus. Okay, and by going up to the side, we're engaging the glute medius, and then bring it back in and back down. Okay, so again, a common one with this one, people rolling their hips too much. So extending out and the pelvis rolls forwards. Again, that's going to, your core is disengaged, the lower back is under a lot of pressure there. And coming out to the side, people will twist right out. Again, we're not really using the right muscles. We're just kind of swinging to get into that position. So making sure that everything is really nice and engaged, core is nice and tight, and you're using your glutes to actually do the movement instead of just throwing yourself around there. So there you go. That's three really good glute exercises to get you warm and to also work in a heavy set as well.
Yeah, and what I actually like about them is all of them engage your core, because if you don't engage your core, you're going to feel it in your back. So it's 2 for 1, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's all from us. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments. And then also, if you would like some more injury prevention advice, make sure that you join my sports injury group. Thank you, Timmo, for tonight. Take care. Thank you for watching. If you would like to learn more about preventing sports injuries, make sure you hit the subscribe button. See you next time.